everybody, Coach Ray here, Westside Kickboxing Gym in Vancouver, Canada. And in today's video, I got 3 tips if you're just getting started in Muay Thai kickboxing, just getting working on the heavy bag. I got 3 ideas for you that'll help give you a better experience doing your heavy bag work. So here we go. Now, tip number 1, if you're just getting started on heavy bag work, I want to make sure that you're really focused on your technique. You start swinging on the heavy bag, full power, full speed. A lot of times you're going to build some bad habits if you're not too focused on making sure your mechanics are sound, making sure you're in balance throwing your technique. What you'll end up doing is building habits that will only make things worse for you in the future. Make sure you get on the heavy bag, have the intention to perform your techniques correctly with your hands up, making sure you're in balance, not falling all over the place. A lot of times you get the beginners working that heavy bag and they go right away, start to smash it as hard as they can, and you'll see them falling all over the place. You'll see them with their hands down, smashing the heavy bag just because they want to hit it full power, full speed, and they're not quite focused on doing their techniques correctly. And that drives me crazy every time I see that. Remember, you are trying to do your techniques correctly. I'm not saying you shouldn't hit with speed and power. It is the heavy bag, and it is great, and it feels awesome to get really good power shots on the heavy bag, but not at the expense of doing the technique correctly. Remember, work the heavy bag, focus on your mechanics, make sure you're in balance, work some speed, and power will come. But if you go into that heavy bag work trying to hit it as hard as you can, as fast as you can, without really focusing on the mechanics and being in balance, what you'll end up doing is having worse technique and building really bad habits in the future. Make sure technique is sound, technique is correct, you are in balance, and always, always, always keep your hands up without making you sacrifice your defense. Okay, technique first, speed and power later. Build good habits, make sure you're hitting the bag correctly and soundly. Now, a second tip for working on the heavy bag, especially for you beginners, is to have an intention when you're doing your rounds. What do I mean? You can go at the heavy bag, ding, 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 the bell sounds, and yeah, you start smashing, you're positive that your technique is sound, and that's awesome, and that's great. Make sure you have an intention. What do I mean? Come into the round with 1 or 2 things you really want to improve on and work on those things, as well as some freestyle bag smashing. Let's say I really want to make sure this round I'm working on my jab, low roundhouse kick. I'll do that several times throughout the round, and I'll mix in some freestyle bag work, and I'll always go back to that jab low kick. Let's say it's a 2 or 3 minute bag round. If I intend to work on that jab low kick, I'll make sure I throw that 10, 15, 20 times throughout the round, and I mix that in with some freestyle bag work. Have an intention to focus on a technique. Maybe it's a defensive principle. Maybe throughout this 2 or 3 minute round, I really want to work on a check and counter kick. Do that mixed in with your freestyle bag work. That's what I mean by having intent. Come into your bag work trying to improve an offensive technique, a defensive technique. Maybe it's a combination, rather than just going to your bag work and smashing, even if your technique is good. Come into it with an intention. And that's tip number 2. And in my third tip, I like to tell my members, especially the beginners, is to mix things up. Remember, we're doing Muay Thai. Even if you're doing some kickboxing, even if you're just boxing, you can mix things up. Let's talk specifically about Muay Thai. Don't be so single-minded with just punching. Absolutely, gets your hands going, but remember, you can knee, you can elbow, you can throw your roundhouse kicks, throw your push kicks, mix it all together. I like to see people make sure they're working all their weapons, all their tools, rather than just single-mindedly working on one of those strikes. I also say mix things up by putting some defense in with your offense. I see people working the heavy bag and they're just pounding away offensively, not worrying about defense. I use the heavy bag, I use my head movement, I check kicks, I cover, come back with counter strikes. So I'm not only offensive focused. And the third little bit of mixing up I like to do is some movement. I try not to be so robotic and just hanging tight in one spot in front of the bag. I like to move around forward, backward, to my left, to my right. Mix around a little bit of footwork and movement, side steps, pivots, forward and back. That way you're not quite so robotic and only staying centered in one spot. Mix things up and you'll have a little bit more exercise, get the heart rate a little bit more, and you'll be more of a well-rounded student. And there you go. There's 3 tips if you're just getting started on the heavy bag. Number 1, come in with good technique, focus on your mechanics, focus on your balance, just as much as you're focused on speed and power. Build good habits and build good technique. Secondly, come in with an intention. Work on a specific combination, work on a specific defensive strategy, work on a specific offensive strategy. Don't just get stuck bag smashing. Improve your overall game. And that also ties into number 3, which is mix things up a little bit. Punch, kick, knees, elbows. Don't be so single-mindedly focused on one of those techniques. Use them all. Also, don't just be offensive-minded. Throw some defensive work in there as well. So not just one thing, try to do it all. There's 3 tips to make you better at the heavy bag, and if you're just getting started, work all those 3 of those things and you'll see your game improve. Thanks for watching the video. Everybody have a great day and keep kicking butt, everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next video.